All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another installment of Plugged In. This is Jeff,
It's your boy Kelly.
so our boy Kelly. All right, well, today, if time permits, we're going to be talking about California passing a law for athletes to get paid, college athletes, that is, and just prominent people maybe getting more notoriety to HBCs, so historically black colleges. And based off of Jamal Hill's article. So we'll start off with athletes getting paid in Cali. So at least from what I understand, and Kelly will correct me if I'm getting out of pocket as he normally does. But from what I understand, Division One, I don't know, maybe not even just Division One, but most likely it'll affect Division One athletes more. They'll be able to be paid more so off of their likeness. So for example, like if I were an athlete, then I could like create a shirt and I could get paid off of it. Whereas before that was like a no go. I couldn't do it. The NCAA tried to put an end to it. So I'm not sure where it stands now, but I believe that that law has been passed. So college athletes in California can be paid off of their likeness, as opposed to just not just, but I mean, anyways, we'll talk about it more. But as opposed to just free college. So yeah, Kelly, what were your thoughts when this came through the pipeline, or maybe some I guess clarifications you can make off of what I've already stated.
Yeah, so I don't know it's official. I think it passed in like the California Senate. I don't know if it has to go through the House as well, and if it has to be signed by the governor, or if it actually has made it through all three branches yet. I know the NCAA was definitely trying to make sure that the governor would veto it. That's what they were going. That's the angle they were going to. So they weren't trying to work with the other politician. They were just trying to make go straight to the governor to veto it. But I haven't heard that the governor has vetoed it. But I knew the Senate, the California Senate, had voted it, and so I don't know if it has passed every branch that needs to become full law. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely the future for athletes. I feel like now it's so much talk about it when things are just being talked about so much that people are finally making a move at it. In California, uh, probably has one of the biggest or the biggest population size wise in the United States. If they're leading, I feel like other states are going to have to follow suit because all the kids are just going to go to California schools once those players
Right.
are making money. So every other state is going to have to follow suit. Like if that happens, like other states, Alabama is not going to let every kid just go to USC. They're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
pass the same bill as well. And so I definitely think like this could be like a very big step. And if it goes through, and once athletes are starting to get paid there, then the NCAA, I feel like would have to step in and be like, well, we want, and then make a deal with the players.
For sure. For sure. Well, and here's my thing. So, I mean, being a BYU alum or the Brigham Young University. I mean, we ain't really all that, but after BYU beat USC yesterday, I think California saw the writing on the wall. They already saw this L coming, and they were like, "Man, USC ain't been the same since Pete Carroll left, or since Stanford beat him back in '07." And they're just trying to get some relevancy. And the only way, like you said, you make a good point. Alabama's like getting all these recruits, mostly in the South. So college football is more a regional sport now, where it seems like the only teams winning the championship these days are an SEC team, or basically a team in the South, because I guess Clemson is not in the SEC, but it seems like only the South is winning. And California, they're having a hard time staying relevant. Like nobody's really staying up at 10:30 Eastern to watch USC, UCLA. Who else is there? Like Oregon. Nobody's really staying up to watch those guys because they're not relevant, right? So I think like you made a good point, or at least you alluded to it. I think a lot of these athletes, they're like, man, I could get paid off of my likeness. Shoot, I'm gonna go to USC, and then I'm gonna get paid off of it. And I get the sunny weather. I get to maybe even bring them back to notoriety, sort of thing. So my thinking is, oh, and I have some thoughts of like how I feel about whether I'm for or against it. I'm on both sides, I guess, but I'm curious to know where do you stand on. I mean, are you in agreement with it? The athletes being paid off of their likeness, or where you stand?
I'm definitely in agreement of them being paid for life with this. Anytime you pay a sport where you could literally lose your life, your ability to walk or do any of that type of activities, you play a dangerous sport that may have repercussions for the rest of your life. You may not be able to function properly for the rest of your life. Anytime you do those things, like your knees, this is taking years off of your life. I definitely want people to be able to be paid and compensated for it more than the college education, because I don't feel like the college education is enough. Because my point is that NCAA always like, no, it's about getting the kids an education. I'm like, if it was about getting an education, then the best football teams would come out of Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and Columbia.
Okay. All right. Kelly out here dropping facts, y'all. Don't do it.
Yeah. So the fact that the best schools are Clemson, Alabama, which are not bad public schools, but if these kids really had education as the priority, then you would see those schools that I just named being the best schools for football and basketball.
That's true. And those are the cash cows, right? Basketball and football, because not track and field. That's not really drawing numbers.
Right.
Swimming, all those other tennis, volleyball, like unless you go to the school, you're not really following those sports. But football, basketball, people could normally get around that. Football by a mile. Basketball, I think, is more of a 1 month sport with March Madness. Everybody fills out a bracket. But
Right.
my 3-year-old filled out a bracket this last time. But I mean, it's just one of those things people can get around. It brings in a lot of money. So that's a good point. So here's my thing, though, Kelly. I think it's cool. Like I'm all about people making money, right? But my fear is then is the sport's going to start diluting, because what we're seeing is that once athletes get or actually start getting paid and they start looking at other people how much they're getting paid, and we see this in real life, right? Once others start seeing what their coworkers are making, then they're like, hey, I need to get paid more. Oh no, okay, I'm bouncing to the next company or whatever the case may be. And I'm finding that that's been the case a lot. I mean, we see this all the time with athletes. They just go to another team that's not very good and they become irrelevant just because they're chasing the money, or because they give half of an effort because they want to be paid more money. And what we're seeing, especially in the NBA, we're seeing athletes that sitting out in games and they want to get paid more but play less. NFL, same thing. You have these players holding out for more money, and you're like, okay, well, what have you done? Like, we're seeing that prime example with Melvin Gordon. He had one good year and he's like holding out, and or Zeke Elliott. Like, we're having all these people just making these demands because there's more player, I guess, empowerment, if you will.
Right.
But my fear is with colleges that we're going to start seeing the same thing. So, like you said, California is usually more progressive when it comes to any laws being passed, and I think other states will follow suit. But my fear is college sports as we know it, how we love it, because we see these players putting their bodies on the line because for the love of the game. Then it's going to become for the love of the almighty dollar. So that's my fear. But I mean, I'm all about people getting paid. I'm just scared, at least from a consumer aspect, like it's not going to be the same. And then pretty soon we're going to start seeing high school players maybe getting paid or something. So I mean, where does it end? So that's my biggest fear. But I mean, did you have I guess rebuttal to that, or any more thoughts?
Well, my feel is like no school is gonna have unlimited all the money. So I feel
Right.
like the money is gonna be able to be spread out. There's some teams that are gonna be stacked, but there's teams that are stacked now. Like Alabama, their first, second, and third string could all play all the big schools by themselves. Like
Right.
when a player goes down at Alabama, they have someone right there, another D1 recruit right there. When that second D1 recruit goes down, they have a third D1 recruit. First 5-star recruit. I mean, 5-star recruit just right off the bat coming up. So those schools that are already making the most money off of the players now are already stacked with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
I feel like it would change much. I feel like now the schools that could afford it, yeah, they're going to be stacked, but that's like the same right now.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Schools,
and then here's the thing too. You know how a lot of these athletes, at least at a professional level, they have incentive laden contracts, right? So it's like, oh, you have to score this many amount of touchdowns, or you have to make the all pro team, or you have all these incentives you have to, or accolades you have to reach in order to unlock this incentive. So
mhm,
we do this with college. Again, right now we're not there. I mean, we're probably years removed from this.
mhm.
But what's going to happen is, and this is just my opinion, but I mean, I can't help but see this is coming to fruition, is that these athletes are going to be so self-centered and trying to say, hey, I need you to throw me the ball more, or hey, I need to carry the ball more, I'm going to transfer, or whatever the case may be, because now they're looking for, hey, I need to make sure I'm taken care of. And the thing is, like, a lot of these athletes, the best ones, not all of them, but a lot of them, they come from poor backgrounds, like lower socioeconomic status. So they're trying to support their families. And now, I don't know, we're not allowing these kids to be kids. This is my fear. And not only is it from a consumer standpoint, does it dilute the product, but then we're forcing these kids to grow up a lot sooner, right? I mean, I think this is a topic we should definitely discuss more at length, and I'd love to have our viewers to comment on this to see what their, I guess their, where their thinking is on it, so we can maybe discuss this further in the comment section. But I think this is something the more we can dive into. But I think basically what I want to end with, if that's all right, Kelly, USC and the whole Pac-12 is taking an L, so they have to try to figure out how to get back to relevancy, especially after you lose to BYU. I mean, not that BYU is trash, but I mean they kind of are. Anyways. But I don't know if you wanted anything to add to that before we move to our next topic.
No, I definitely think it's a play by them. California, the schools there. That's why it's going through. Hasn't had any hitch yet, and so I definitely think it's a play for them to be relevant because the South has been rising lately. There's nothing that people have been able to do about it.
For sure, for sure. Okay, cool. Good points, man. Well, I'd love to discuss this further in the comment section. So people drop your comments below and we'll discuss it further. Now, Jamel Hill wrote an article recently, and if you wouldn't mind leading that, I'd love to hear. Oh yeah, basically clarifying what was going on, so we can discuss that further.
Yeah, so Jamel Hill wrote an article about how Black athletes need to start going to HBCUs and playing for those programs because these programs are bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars for basketball and football. So she's basically telling them like, hey, why don't you go to a HBCU where more people that look like you will benefit from this money rather than going to a school that people that don't look like you are the people that are going to benefit the most from this money. And so that way, giving back, you're pretty much by them just going to a HBCU, they'll be doing a lot for their community and giving back to people, the marginalized people like themselves. It's pretty much was her big point of the article.
Cool. Well, I guess just basically what I've gathered from the interwebs. I don't know, man, I'm torn on this too. I can see both sides. And my thinking is when you go to, I think these athletes are going to where the opportunity, or where they have the most opportunity, right? So to your point, when these kids are going to college, they're not going for the academics. They're going more so they're looking at it as I guess a catapult, if you will, into the next level, right? So when you go to Alabama or Clemson or any of these Southern schools, it's almost like a, how do you call it? Let me see. What was that?
They want the media coverage so that they can improve their stock, so that they go higher in the draft.
Right. Because there's few and far between. Like it's rare when you have a first round pick come from like Northwestern, Chicago State, or whatever. You get what I'm saying? So like a small school. So HBCs are basically considered small schools from an athletic standpoint, at least for football and basketball. So the thing is, you really have to like really throw down or go hard if you're gonna be I guess how you say make it to the big leagues, right? For lack of a better phrase. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then obviously the resources that these schools like Clemson, Alabama, USC, UCLA, it basically depends on the sport, right? Kansas for basketball, Kentucky, UF. Anyways, I can keep going down the list. They put a ton of money into the resources, the coaches, the dieting. And I think Jamel makes a good point that if more of these athletes were to go to, how do you say, to the HBCUs, then maybe they'd attract these athletes. But it's like, it's going to take a while because the thing is somebody's going to have to take the hit and know that they're not really going to see the fruits of their labor, and they're going to have to really be confident that despite their resources, they can make it. But I don't know, man. It's going to be a lot, but I think I can see your point on both ends. But I think from an athletic standpoint, it just makes sense to go to those other schools, and then from an academic standpoint, it just makes sense where you're going to have more connections. Because outside of, let's say, your career doesn't pan out, now just imagine the resources you have once you step away from sport, right? So I guess that's my point What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I feel like most of the schools have the resources because they have so much money coming in. Like money drives America, no period. No matter if you're white, black, or Hispanic, money is the key. So I feel like these schools they're able to hire the best professors because they have so much money coming in. And so I feel like the athletes, I don't feel like they're going to take a hit because even if you look at the athlete that was drafted. He was drafted like number 15 in the NBA last year. The one who did the internship, I forgot, was it with
Oh yeah, I forget his name too, but yeah, he was supposed to go to Syracuse, backed out, and then ended up doing like New Balance internship. That one.
yeah, the New
Uh,
Balance membership. So he got 1 million from New Balance. Didn't play not one NCAA game, and still was drafted in a first round in the NBA.
yeah,
Pretty much just off of your high school talent.
yeah,
Just off of your high school talent. And that's another thing. If they even get the NBA is trying to get rid of that, you don't even have to go to college. And so if the NBA gets rid of that, like what would college be?
yeah, right.
And
Well, and
so
go ahead. Sorry.
so I'm feeling like they don't need the college as much as the college needs them.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
This is
okay.
from my point of view because you've seen people that have gone one you've seen people that have gone to HBCUs that have been successful. Shannon Sharp is a prime example. He went to Savannah State, was still drafted in the NFL, and still
But he,
became
he was drafted later though. Imagine how much money you're costing yourself. And I don't know if his talent really like had him dubbed or tabbed as one of the top athletes at his time. You get what I'm saying? Like
right.
that's
It definitely did it.
yeah, yeah. And so that's what I'm because it's hindsight 2020. So like with Tom Brady, for example, people are like, oh yeah, he went to Michigan, but it's like we have to remember like he was drafted 6th round. So like all 32 teams passed on him at least 5 times.
Right.
Right. Thing is like yeah, obviously yeah, like both of them are like Hall of Fame athletes and everything, but the thing is like they weren't really dubbed like coming out
Right.
that good. But yeah, all right, sorry about that. But go ahead, finish your point.
No, my point is that they still had an opportunity to show
Yeah,
themselves and to ball out and become future Hall of Famer. So I'm
right,
saying that those circumstances of going to HBCU or not even going to a college period did not stop these people from one getting drafted, two making it to the league. And because the league, kind of what Damian Lillard said, he's like, it don't matter what school you go to, they will find you. If you have
right,
the talent, they would find you. Like they're finding people overseas that have never played a college game in their entire life. Giannis never played a college game in his entire life. Uh,
right, right.
and even with the youngest Ball brother, he's never going to play a college game in his entire life. And he's probably still going to be drafted in this up and coming
Yeah,
draft.
probably lottery. Yeah, yeah, I
Right.
agree. Yeah, and just to add to your point too, I mean, like we had, I mean, like you're 76 Philadelphia 76ers fan,
Right.
and they drafted 2 players who didn't come from powerhouse. I mean, they weren't HBCs by any means, but they went to smaller schools as far as the basketball aspect was Ben Simmons going to LSU and Markel Fultz going to University of Washington. I was
Right.
like, neither of them are even like good. They're like below
Right.
average teams, but their talent outweighed that and enough for them to be #1 picks respectively, right? So no, I think there's some truth to that.
Right. Because it was mostly their high school or their talent, their
Yeah.
rank in high school that really put them on a map and made
Hmm.
started focusing and paying attention to them. So I feel like the colleges have tricked these players, these young players, into thinking that you need us more than we need you, when
Yeah.
that is it's not true. So my point is from what Jamel Hill is saying that well, if you don't these schools need you more than you don't need them. They need you. And so like if you have a chance to make someone else money, why don't you make someone else that's in your community money rather than going and make someone that's not in your community money?
Yeah. And I think it's just one of those things where, like a lot of us, right, we're thinking, oh man, if I had a chance for a Harvard degree, then oh, I'm jumping at that. Yale, Stanford, I'm jumping on that. But it's
Right.
like HBCs, are known, at least, I mean, I don't know how well known, but they're easier to get into, quote unquote. Right. So I think people would just be like, okay, I'm going to go there because it's easy to get into or whatever the case, mind you. But it's like if you, or I guess, because if you go to Harvard, right? I mean, it's almost like you're guaranteed a job out of the gate. It doesn't matter if you majored in custodial studies, right? You're gonna get your pretty good paying job because of the connections alone. Because it is basically the name that they see on the resume. Whereas if you go to an HBC, it's a lot more of an uphill battle. And I think that's what a lot of these athletes are scared of as well. Because I don't want to say, oh, is this because these because it almost seems like, I mean, this is how I view it. But it's almost like Jamal was saying, like, oh, these white people are like flash, show them all this flash, and then these poor little black kids are like falling for it. But I think on the opposite end, this is like, well, they really don't know. I don't know if they can really like bank on themselves as much, right? I don't know if they trust themselves enough where they can, even though the facilities aren't as nice, the diet won't be as nice. And the thing is, especially in this day and age, Kelly, you and I both know, this up and coming generation, our generation included, we care too much about clout or attention or fame. And the thing is, if you go to an HBC, you will not be on the TV. You will not be on TV. So it's like you're not showing out for anybody. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what another worry that some of these athletes have, that they want to be able to, especially if you're going to go away, far away from home, you want your family to be able to see you on TV. You get me? And if you go to a bigger program, then your family will at least be able to see you. Otherwise, you just stay close to home. If I'm from Florida, then I'll just go to UF or something, and at least my family can drive up to see me. Otherwise, if I go all the way up to, I don't know, Howard University, I'm never going to be on TV unless they
Well,
have the
those
premium channel.
those TV contracts expire. And so if they see all the talent is going to HBCUs, those HBCUs are going to be the ones that are going to get those big contracts from the TV companies.
Right, but it's gonna take a minute though, right? No, I agree with you. I'm with you, but it's just gonna take a while, and I think that's what's scaring some of these athletes. Like, but do I really want to be the guinea pig? Do I really want to be the martyr for the cause? Do I really want to do it for the culture that bad? It's like, or it's like, let me go to a surefire thing, do my 1 year in college ball and go jump, or do I do a few years in football and bounce? Because the thing is, who knows how long it'll take before HBCs are put on the map and actually have more of a nationwide audience. You get what I'm saying?
I feel like it'll be pretty quick. Just if you look at, for my thing is, if you look at, especially with the way in today's society, people are able to market themselves a lot more than they were before with Instagram and Facebook. If you look at Zion Williams and Ja Morant, it's two first draft picks that were drafted, nobody knew what schools or cared about the schools that they were going to. Videos started being posted about Zion Williams and him dunking that made it go viral. And so everybody started paying attention to those schools and those two players. Before that, like, nobody was caring about Zion Williams' school or Ja Morant, or because they both played for schools that were unknown, not really big basketball schools. But because of self-promotion, or even whoever put those videos online of Zion Williams dunking, it gathers so much attention. So now you even saw, like, on ESPN, they showed some of Zion's game, some of his high school games as well. So I think the media is going to follow you. It's going to follow you. They have to, because
right. No, I agree.
I feel like they're going to have to follow you. I don't feel like it's going to take 5 or 3, 4 years. I feel like if someone takes the first jump and they're like, oh, shoot, a couple of these players are playing at this school, decided to go to Howard. Oh, you mean Howard got 3 of the top 10 recruits? We're not going to watch Howard games.
That's a good point.
We're not gonna watch Howard games. We're not gonna be posting about these. We're not gonna write articles and all these things. So I feel like the media has to follow you, and that's the thing. I feel like the media doesn't have any loyalty to those big PWI schools. They don't have any loyalty to Alabama. They don't have any loyalty to University of Florida. No loyalty to Clemson. They will jump ship because they care about themselves. They don't care about Alabama. And so I feel like once they realize, like, oh, well, Alabama, you're not giving us what you used to, boom, I feel like they would jump ship. So I feel like it's going to happen a lot quicker, especially in today's society where you can literally market yourself. Like, how many kids have made themselves famous off of Instagram or YouTube or different things of that nature? So I feel like now they really do not need the school. They really do not.
Right.
I don't feel like it was Duke that brought so much hype for Zion Williams. Zion Williams brought so much hype for himself, and so he made he was the reason why you have Barack Obama showing up to a game.
Right. But the thing is, even then, though, I mean, I think Duke definitely helped. Because the thing is, like, yeah, he was good, but the thing is, like, how I mean, and it's hard to say, right? Because if he gone to Clemson, he would have been like the number one guy that they would have been focusing on. But he had like top I think a couple of his teammates ended up being lottery picks too, was R.J. Barrett and I'm trying to remember his name, but he went to the Hawks.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a couple of teammates that went into the lottery. But if he went to Clemson, I don't think even one Clemson. I mean, I'm ignorantly speaking, but I don't think any one Clemson player was drafted. So all the focus would have been on him. So his talent wouldn't have been able to blossom as much as it did. Because a lot of people were saying that R.J. Barrett was a better player, and he was like 2 picks behind him. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is like just the Duke national brand, and I think this will be a topic to discuss further another time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see it both ways, but like Zion, I don't think he was supposed to be like that big of an athlete, or I guess like that big of a pick. Like I think he's like he was in the top 10 of players like coming out of high school, but he
He was
really
number
got big
two.
going to Duke, and like obviously he had like some huge games, but the shoe exploding, like going 13 for 13, he couldn't miss all these highlight dunks. But no, I'll agree with you on this, Kelly, in that yeah, I think college athletes should just bet on themselves more and then go to like these smaller schools because one, they're able to like be the focal point of the offense or defense or both wherever they're at, and they're able to bring notoriety and money to these establishments that aren't getting as much funding and notoriety as they should, right? But no, I think that's a good point. So I think we're good on those two topics. I don't know how much time you have, or there anything you want to discuss before we finish, Kelly?
Um, I can't think of anything. Anything you want
Yeah.
to discuss?
What was that?
I said anything you want to discuss?
Dang, I wish I. Oh, Antonio Brown, super
Oh, yeah.
quick, man. I don't know. I mean, Antonio Brown's has been through an interesting last few months. I think he's a prime example, man. Like of somebody who's just addicted to social media, and he's letting his popularity get to his head, and he thinks he's putting himself in a positive light, but he's more so putting himself in a negative light. And I think social media, man, unless you know how to handle it or like know how to consume it, then and use it to the best of your abilities, then you should probably just stay off of it. Because I'm finding that a lot of athletes and people just prominent figures like athletes, celebrities, musicians, artists, they're shooting themselves in the foot by how they're branding themselves on. And Antonio Brown, man, I think he's losing a lot of followers and like supporters, and he's lost himself a lot of money, literally and like in the long term as well. Because like the situation had played out with the Oakland Raiders and now off the field stuff, which is more so allegations. But I mean, he's just putting himself in some stuff, man. But I guess that's what I just wanted to end with. Like we're seeing with Antonio Brown, he came from a small school, made himself like arguably the best player at his position, and now he's about to lose all of it. Not all of it, but like a lot of it because he's just so enamored with himself and not about the team. So I guess I just
Yep.
wanted to.
No, yeah, I definitely feel that. I feel like Antonio Brown, I feel like the most dangerous things about him is that he thinks he's doing the right thing. The thing about the NFL
Right.
is that it is not a given. Like, no matter how talented you are, it's not a given. And so, even now, like, he's on the Patriots, like, he played today, but he only had 55 yards and only $9 million on his contract is guaranteed. The other $6 million doesn't kick in. It's incentives for like reaching marks. And so reaching marks. And like, one of those things I think is that, usually for receivers, they want you to at least get like 1,000 or 800 yards, which he's now
Right.
tracked to do because in the Patriots offense, it's not this person every week. It's going to get 10 balls. Like he only was targeted 4 times and it might increase a little bit, but he's not going to get
Not
the
by much.
yards. Yeah. He's not going to get the same amount of yards
Yeah.
he got in Pittsburgh. He's not going to be able to demand the
Right.
ball like he was in Pittsburgh. And so,
Yeah. Oh,
if
real
he's
quick.
right,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, no, I agree, man. So we'll see, man. It's been a soap opera. I feel like NBA is usually the one that brings soap opera for us, but AB is doing it for the NFL now, so it'll be interesting to keep eyes on. So, all right, man. Well, I think we took a 2 week hiatus of recording because of some personal stuff that was going on in the Bahamas. So hopefully, everybody, if you're aware, like, that there was a hurricane in the Bahamas, and we were just making sure that our families and friends were taken care of. So hopefully, you can contribute where you can. Just find like I don't know where would we go, Kelly, to like look for some stuff. I mean, I don't know if Red Cross is still a thing because I know there's been some scandals, not scandals, but speculation there. But I mean, where do you think would be a good place to go to help support the people of the Bahamas?
It depends on actually where you're located at. There's a lot of different GoFundMe's for certain people. I wouldn't go to Red Cross because I feel like there's so much red tape in the Bahamas right now that if you want certain things that are going to move a little faster and less red tape, try to find people that are actually taking their boats literally by themselves and dropping off supplies or trying to work or know people directly that were effective. If you know any friends or family, you can personally reach out to us on our page as well, and we'll direct you to personal people that we know that were affected by it. Because there's so much red tape, and the government of Bahamas really doesn't exactly know what they're going to do because they were not prepared for something at this level, like a whole island being taken out and then another island, about 70% of it being taken out. So there's something that they're not prepared about. These were two of their top 3 islands. So there's something that's definitely they're not prepared for. And so they don't really know what they're doing. So a lot of that money is going to be held up if you like donate to those bigger organizations. But I find that if you reach out to people that know those people, they can help you and steer you in a way that you can be able to do the most as fast as possible.
Oh, sweet, Kelly. Well, thanks for helping us. So yeah, if you all want to contribute, just send us a direct message. Maybe put a comment in the comment section, or maybe if you know of any other ways, then we'd be more than happy to help. So if nothing else, we'll end on that. Oh, actually, it's early in the season. Do we want to make our Super Bowl picks?
Super Bowl picks right now, man. I feel like right now too many people look good. I really feel like too many people.
So just to clarify, you're a Tampa Bay fan, and I'm a fair weather Falcons fan just because I live down here, but I have no loyalties.
Right.
Is that about right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. We'll have to make Super Bowl picks another time then. Well, if nothing else, this is us signing off on another installment of Plugged In, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Later.